Good afternoon, Ms. Naudé-Odendaal.
Good afternoon, CJ. Are you well, CJ?
At least one candidate wants to know how I am. I am well, thank you very much, and the commissioners are very well too.
Thank you, CJ.
Yes. Thank you for availing yourself. We appreciate that you have availed yourself for consideration for appointment as a judge in the Limpopo division of the High Court. I'm going to put certain questions to you. All the questions that will be put to you are aimed at establishing how your appointment would comply with the selection criteria that this body has agreed upon. I think there is a document that should be here that is not here. I'm sorry. I will ask you questions, and after I'm done, I'll ask the judge president to ask you questions if he has any. And after that, I'll ask the Premier's representative, Advocate Singh, to do the same. And after that, commissioners who wish to ask you questions will get a chance to ask you questions. All questions will be directed at seeing how your appointment would comply with the selection criteria that have been adopted by this commission. I see that you have an LLB degree which you obtained in 2007?
Indeed so, Chief Justice.
Yes, and you got it from the University of Pretoria.
Yes, Chief Justice.
And then same year you obtained, what is it called, an IPSA diploma in insolvency law.
Indeed so, Chief Justice.
And then you served articles from 2006 to 2007.
Indeed so, Chief Justice, until I was admitted in September 2007.
So you were admitted in December 2007?
September 2007, Chief Justice.
Yes. Okay, on the questionnaire, it looks like it was in 2008. But I think it's just the way the words are arranged there. And then you practiced as an attorney for a few years, and then you went to the bar, is that right?
Indeed so, Chief Justice. I went and did my pupillage at the Pretoria Bar in 2010.
Yes.
I started on the 25th of January 2010, and I was admitted as an advocate on the 16th of March 2010.
Yes. And you have been practicing as an advocate since then.
Indeed, so save for the periods when I was acting as a magistrate or as a judge.
You acted as a magistrate from March/April 2015 to December 2016. So that was a year and a few months, or was, yeah, a year and a few months.
Yes, indeed so, Chief Justice. It was about
No,
20.
actually not a year and a few months, close to 2 years.
It was 21 months, 3 months short of 2 years,
Yes.
Chief Justice.
And then you went back to the bar in 20. Well, here it says 2015 to end of 2016, but you were acting as a magistrate at that time, so.
Chief Justice, while I was acting as a magistrate, I wanted to retain membership at the bar. So at that stage, I was a member of the National Bar Council of South Africa, the NBCSA. But I didn't practice, I just retained my membership.
Is that permissible?
Yes, as I'm acting now as a judge, I'm also still a
Or
member.
because you were acting, you
I
were
was
not
acting-
permanent?
Yes, I was
Yeah,
acting.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't do it if it was a permanent appointment?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why it's a little confusing, because you were an acting magistrate for close to 2 years, but then it reflects that you were an advocate, but that's because you retained membership.
Yes, indeed, sir.
Okay. And then you have had a chance to act as a judge, and you were an acting judge from 27 July 2020 to 30 September 2020, and 5 October 2020 to 30 April 2021, and 21 July to 30 September 2021, and 1 October 2021. Is that right?
Indeed, sir.
So,
Chief Justice.
all in all, how long was that period, those periods of acting on aggregate? If you put all of them together, do you know how
Chief
many
Justice-
weeks or how many months?
Chief Justice, at the time of submission of my nomination and application, it was 58 weeks, but since then, I have acted further, and currently, actual time that I have sat on the bench is 60 weeks, almost 15 months.
Almost 15 months?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What types of cases or branches of law did cases that you did in your practice or that you continue to do in your practice relate to?
Chief Justice, my practice was a very general practice. As I grew in maturity and experience, it developed in a different direction from when I first started. At first, I did criminal law and civil law. Apologies, Chief Justice. Right at the beginning, I only wanted to do conveyancing and estate planning. Then I was introduced to civil litigation and criminal litigation. Then I started to do more civil litigation and criminal litigation, and the conveyancing and the estate planning became less. And then later on, my practice developed more into a civil practice, and the criminal work became less. I also had some experience in labor law matters, a little bit of experience in land claims matters, mostly commercial law matters, family law matters, insolvency law matters, evictions, mining law, banking law. Chief Justice, there's almost no area that I don't have experience in. If there's, I think it might be easier to mention an area that I don't have experience in than giving the areas I do have experience in. And the one area I do not have experience in Limpopo is maritime law. That's,
Yes.
I don't have experience in that.
I see that in your questionnaire under legal background, you described yourself in these words: I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none.
That's accurate, CJ. I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none, but I do know where to get the law.
Okay. Now, the matters that you have done in your practice, are there any that have resulted in reported cases in which you appeared?
No, unfortunately not.
Yes. And judgments that you have produced during your acting stint, are there any that have been reported?
Yes, indeed so, Chief Justice. I'm not sure whether they were reported on the law reports, but the matter of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Limpopo Province, Mrs. Ramesh Patel, was reported in LexisNexis online reported judgments system, as well as Judicial's online reported justice system. If this CJ will, and the commissioners will just bear with me, then I can quickly go through the list, if I can just get that.
Well, you don't have to go through it.
I have it, CJ. Then it's on page 9 of the handwritten 9 of the bundle. In the corner, I
Yeah.
indexed the pages. Then on Utastat, they also have, like I said,
These, none of these are reported in the usual South African law reports and Butterworth law reports, but you say they are reported anyway under JDR and JOL.
indeed so. Indeed so. Chief
Yeah.
Justice, and then under Utastat, there are 10 matters that was reported.
Yes. Okay. And now, during your acting stints, have you sat in full bench appeals? Have you sat in motion court, opposed and unopposed, as well as have you done civil trials and criminal trials?
Yes, Chief Justice, and in addition to what was mentioned by Chief Justice, I think it needs to be mentioned that I have done special civil trials, special criminal trials, which is complex in nature and long in duration, as well as high profile. And then I have been appointed to do only special motions in our division the last term last year. Chief Justice, in our division, special motions is not your normal opposed motions. It is both complex motions as well as extremely voluminous motions.
What can you tell commissioners that suggest that you have embraced the values of our constitution? You know, there are some within our country who reject the Constitution. So we need to know that anyone that we recommend to be appointed, we need to know if they embrace the values of the Constitution. But it might be helpful if they are able to refer to what they do or have done to show that they embrace the values of the Constitution rather than just telling us, I do embrace it.
Chief Justice, I believe a judge should enhance the values of the Constitution in both their professional as well as their personal lives. In my instance, I cannot tell the JEC commissioners that today I have went out and I have specifically went and treated somebody with respect. For me, it is something I do every single day of my life, in both my professional as well as personal capacity. I treat all people alike with respect and with dignity. When it comes to equal opportunity for all in South Africa, commissioners, I have assisted many pupils with, it started at university already. I have mentored many students during my time at the university. As a council. I have mentored pupils. I have assisted many pupils with referring work to them once they are admitted. And in this instance, it's both black, Indian, and coloured. As council, I have referred many briefs to black councils, women and men. I have helped many article clerks to obtain article clerkship at attorney's firm. Article clerks struggle to get contracts of articles clerkship. And then I would pick up a phone and phone a few attorneys, arrange interviews, and in all the instances where I helped, they got their articles. And once again, it was for all colours, all races, and all genders. Then later on in practice, I stayed involved with pupillage training and mentoring. I assisted the Black Lawyers Association with their moot court exercises over the recess period in 2020. Last year, I assisted the Limpopo Society of Advocates with their moot court training, and I am currently also assisting the Limpopo Society of Advocates by giving class to the pupils. And I have been honoured also by the Limpopo Society of Advocates to specifically give the pupils class in ethics, ethical behaviour. And for me, that is a great honour to specifically be asked to lecture ethics. I do not know if I should go on with the list, but I can go on.
I will now allow the Judge President to put questions to you if he has got any.
Chief Justice, apologies. Just before the Judge President puts questions to me, there is one aspect in respect of enhancing the values enshrined in the Constitution that I would like to bring to the attention of the Commissioners.
Yes.
During the period of 2007 to 2010, when I was with Coxwell and Steyn, Vice and Naudé attorneys, our branch of the litigation branch, where I was part of, received a special honorary award from the then President Kgalema Motlanthe for services rendered to the people of Limpopo. And I was, together with the senior attorney, the recipient of the award. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge President.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Ms. Naudé, you were interviewed by this commission last year in October. After your interview in October, is it so that you proceeded acting as a judge until the end of the year, December 2021?
Yes, indeed so, JP.
Right, and over and above the period of an aggregate of 15 months as an acting judge, there are periods when you availed yourself as a pro bono judge in my division. When I count the period, I come to a figure of about a 2 months period as a pro bono judge. Do you confirm that?
JP, in fact, it was a little bit more. It was more about 2 terms, not just 2 months,
Okay, yes.
JP. Yes, it was 2 terms, JP.
Thank you, and thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Judge President. Advocate Singh.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Advocate Naudé-Odendaal.
Good evening, Mr. Singh.
I'm just going to read, there's a common thread in the comments regarding, well, let me say it how they say it. The candidate is still young, but has garnered experience in varied fields of practice.
Advocate Singh, don't speak too far away from your mic.
Okay. Sorry, CJ, I'll repeat that.
Yeah.
The comments from the GCB state that the candidate is still young, but has garnered experience in varied fields of practice. And then similarly, from Naudé, it says at point 164, Advocate Odendaal is a young female legal practitioner. At your relatively youthful age, do you think you would make a good judge?
Advocate Singh, thank you for asking me the question. I have read the comments and I have noted that it is a general view that it is quite extraordinary for somebody to be appointed at such a young age. But I am not the first, and I will most definitely not be the last. I know, if I'm correct, our Chief Justice was also only about 37 or 38 when he was appointed, first as a judge. Then there is Justice Strawn, who was only about 33 or 34 when she was appointed as a judge. Judge Madlanga was the first youngest judge ever to be appointed at the age of 34. And there's quite a number that followed. What the history has shown us is that people appointed at a young age add value to the judiciary and many years of good service to the judiciary. And they grow and mature within the judiciary and on the bench. And according to history, they, in the end, elevate to the Constitutional Court bench. The fact that I am only 38 years old is to the advantage of the judiciary, because there are a lot of energy in me, a lot of motivation, and many years of service to the judiciary, the people of South Africa, and more specifically, the people of my province, Limpopo province. Then, in respect of my qualifications, my experience, my ability to deal with technically competent matters at my young age, I have earlier indicated that I have been appointed specifically to deal with special motions. Special motions in our division are normally reserved for the judge president or the most senior judges. Now, considering the fact that I have acted for 60 weeks, over the period of 60 weeks, I have written 105 judgments. Of the 105 judgments, only 5 judgments of my own was taken on appeal. The other 4 was either full court or full bench judgments or review judgments. As I sit here, I am privileged to say that none of my judgments have been set aside. The 3 outstanding judgments that was listed on my list, of which the outcome was still awaited, 2 of them, the appeals were dismissed with cost. In other words, my judgments were upheld. And in the 3rd one, the appeal was never prosecuted. So that would give me, at this stage, 100% success rate. Now, I think that says something about my understanding of the law, interpretation of the facts, and application of the law to the facts. If one considers my judicial temperament, I am a strict person, but I am also a person who goes into a matter open-minded. I am also patient and allow the parties to ventilate the issues before me properly. I have the necessary leadership, although as a junior acting judge, I'm not necessarily in a leadership position, but as a judge of my court, I am held responsible and accountable, and I need to do that with leadership. Now, when it comes to leadership, I strongly believe in the principles of Ubuntu. I am because we are. And in this instance, I can give an example. During the time that I was an acting magistrate in Zastron, the Zastron Magistrates Court was number 98 in terms of the NPA ranking, in terms of performance. After the first quarter of 2016, ending June 2016, it's when I started acting there, the performance of the court improved from number 98 to number 6, which made that court the best performing court in terms of the NPA statistics ranking in South Africa. I could not have done it on my own. What I did is I immediately held various meetings with the different interested parties, the police, the social works, the correctional services, the prosecuting authority, legal aid, and so forth. And we all pulled our part and worked very hard. But then at the end of the hard work, you also have to reward. So I organized at my expense a thank you and celebration braai for all the stakeholders one Friday afternoon at the Magistrates Court, and everybody enjoyed it very much. And it gave that little motivation to do even better the next term. But then I was transferred to Thohoyandou thereafter. So in respect of my personality, my experience, my capability, I have a lot to offer to the judiciary. And if the judiciary appoints me as a judge, I swear that I will serve the judiciary, the people of South Africa, and the people of Limpopo with dignity and honor.
Thank you, Chief Justice. That will be all.
Thank you. Commissioner Kane.
Good afternoon, Madam. I'm seated in this direction. Ordinarily, a person practicing at the bar with your ability would, at about this stage of her career, apply to be recognized for senior counsel status. And that also contributes to the bench because you take with you, if it's granted, that peer review endorsement. Do you not think that that would be of value in your circumstances?
Commissioner, I think any counsel aspires to become a senior counsel someday. We work for something. But in my instances, since I was 27, and I can still remember the exact court we sat in during our pupillage moot court training, I looked at the judge that addressed us that evening, and there and then I decided that's where I want to be someday. So I aspired more to becoming a judge than obtaining my senior counsel status. At this stage, I have 12 years of practice as a counsel and 3 years as attorney, so it's 15 years. I will only start to qualify for my senior counsel status from this year onwards. But ever since I was 27, I worked towards being appointed as a judge, and that is where the acting census magistrate, commissioner of the small claims court, commissioner of the tax board, or rather chairperson of the tax board, and the acting census judge came in.
One more question along those lines then. Since you are now exactly at the point where it would be appropriate for you to apply for senior counsel status, would you do so if for any reason this commission didn't recommend your appointment at this stage?
Yes, I have considered it, and I have in fact discussed it with senior counsels to apply. But in order to become a judge comes from the academics field, prosecutors, attorneys, magistracy, and counsels. It's not a requisite to be a senior counsel to be a judge. And having obtained my senior counsel status won't make me a better or any lesser judge. It will put me in a different category as a counsel, but it won't make a difference as to the judge I am compared to the fact that there are many magistrates who are appointed as judges and attorneys who never have the option of becoming a senior counsel.
CJ, may I ask one more question, please? Thank you. You didn't answer my question. You see, I didn't contend that you had to have senior counsel status, and this body may well recommend you without it. But I asked whether, if for any reason you're not recommended, whether you would apply.
Advocate, I think I answered it at the introduction of my answer. I said, yes, I have already considered it, and I have already discussed it with other senior counsels to apply for my senior counsel status. I have also already received the form. I think, if I'm correct, the closing date is in May of this year. So I have already considered it.
Thank you.
Well, have you considered it and made a decision that you would apply, or have you considered it but not yet made a decision? You would
Chief
apply
Justice,
if you are still at the bar at the time, at some stage this year. That is, if you were not appointed as a judge.
Chief Justice, my decision that I made is I want to be appointed as a judge. That is where my heart lies, and that is what I've worked for my entire life. If I am not appointed, then I would consider applying. But at this stage, I have not applied because tonight I am here to be interviewed to be appointed as a judge.
Okay, all right. I don't think it can be taken any further. Yeah. Well, you must just know that nobody is saying you must apply if you don't want to apply in case you are not appointed. I think it was just, it may well be that Commissioner Kane thinks that if you don't get appointed, you would be a good candidate. I don't know, but she was just wanting to know whether if you are not appointed as a judge, you would apply. Okay, Commissioner Singh?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice, and good evening, Advocate Odendaal.
Good evening, Commissioner Singh.
One of the roles that I play in Parliament, and I've been there for a number of years now, part of the furniture, is a member of the Portfolio Committee on Environment. And I'm going to ask you an environmentally related question arising from your answer to question 9 in the questionnaire. Furnish particulars of community and other organizations of which you have been a member in the past 10 years. And you list there, and forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, Bosveld Jagters en Wildewaringsvereniging and the Soutpansberg branch, which I understand is the Hunters and Game Wardens Association.
Yes, Commissioner Singh.
Now, one of the criteria that we have to look at is your capacity to give expression to the values of the Constitution. And I think you have told us about how you give expression to that and about the award, and congratulations for that. One of the Section 24 of the Constitution speaks about an environment, and it says everyone has the right to have the environment protected, and then subsection 2, promote conservation, secure ecologically sustainable development and use of natural resources while promoting justifiable economic and social development. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this section of the Constitution, because in our activities or in our work as members of the committee, we've come across the issue of captive lion breeding, and we've come across the issue of tigers and cheetahs, etc., that are bred and kept in captivity. And in fact, there are about 350 such facilities in the country, with Limpopo having a number of such facilities. Have you in any way made any pronouncement or statements on the issue of captive lion breeding? How do you perceive it, given that the Minister, Barbara Creasy, recently banned the sale of lion and lion products? And I see you are a hunter as well. I saw that in a picture somewhere. So I just want to know, what is your view on captive lion hunting, keeping these cats in captivity, and your role in this Bosveld Jagters and Wildewaringsvereniging? Thank you, Chief.
If I may, Commissioner Singh, start with the last question first and then do the first question last. My role at the Bosveld Jagtersvereniging is I'm a member in order to have a firearm license. It is indeed so. I like hunting, fishing, and camping. Annually, I go hunting with my family, and we enter the various competitions that the Soutpansberg Jagtersvereniging has. So that is my role as far as it goes in respect of the Soutpansberg Jagtersvereniging. Then in respect of my view of, if I can call it the canned lion hunting, because that is what it is. The fact that I am a hunter makes me an even bigger protector of nature and animals. We only hunt what we can utilize and eat. The canned hunting lion business is outright wrong. I do not have a problem with lions that are bred and grown in an environment that is conducive and which does have the necessary permits for them. But the moment it does not give them a proper standard of living anymore, I do not condone that at all. Have I done anything about it actively? No, unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity, and I have not gone to those lengths yet.
Thank you for that. There have been calls because of the serious numbers of rhino poaching, particularly in the Kruger and in KZN, and this captive lion breeding or the canned lion hunting, for a wildlife court to be established, specialized wildlife courts. Do you have a view on that?
Except that I think I love it. I think it's absolutely necessary, considering not just the rhino poaching, but also elephant tusks trading. Poaching ranges over a variety of animals, especially in the Kruger and closer to our borders. If such courts are established, I would not say it should be a permanent court, but rather a circuit court that goes around and does a day a week at a certain area, because these areas are wide and far apart, considering Tabazimbi on the western border of South Africa and the Kruger National Park on the eastern border, and Messina and the northern border. And these are areas that are vastly affected by unlawful poaching of animals. And it's not just the animals affected, the farmers in the areas and the communities and the South African fiscus is affected by it as well.
Thank you, Advocate Odendaal. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you. Commissioner Nyambi.
Thank you, CJ. Evening, Advocate.
Good evening.
From my side, it's only one question. I'm happy you are being interviewed for a position where you are very clear that that's where your heart lies. The last time you were here, I can see a sense of serious preparation from your side. Probably you have done some reflection about the last time you were here. And if you are aware that no one was appointed, with the reflection and hindsight out of what was said then and coming here today, probably anything that you think, getting a chance, you might have said it differently then, that you think might have made it impossible for us to have an appointment, so that once and for all today it can conclude and have you where your heart lies?
Commissioner, thank you for asking the question. Yes, indeed, I did reflect a lot. I went over the interview and my experience. What I would have done differently is the way I answered the question posed by Commissioner Malema back then. I think, in a sense, I misunderstood the question, but what I would have done differently in my answer is I would have approached the answer as a judge. And as a judge, or an acting judge, have answered the question and given a more firm and definite answer.
I'm more than satisfied. Thank you, Advocate. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you very much. Let me go to the commissioners attending virtually. Is there anyone who has a question among the commissioners attending virtually?
No questions, Chief Justice.
Thank you very much. Okay.
No question, Chief Justice.
Thank you. No question,
satisfied.
Commissioner Breitenbach and Commissioner Lucas.
No, no questions, CJ, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Muimang.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good evening,
Good evening, Commissioner.
Advocate Odendaal. Just one area that I want you to address from my side.
Would you please just speak up a bit, Commissioner?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chief Justice. Just one area that I want you to address from my side. The GCB raises a point at para 5.1 of their comments that from the 9 judgments that they considered, they noted that there is no indication of the candidate's experience in matters of great significance. That's the point that they are raising. And they, at paragraph 11.2, they say also the only concern remains that the candidate's youth and lack of exposure to matters of great significance. So if you can just address us on those concerns, so that at least as we deliberate, we have the benefit of your response to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, I do not equate a matter of great significance to a matter of complexity. A matter of great significance is not necessarily a very complex matter, and a very complex matter is not necessarily a very significant matter. But as I have said earlier, I have dealt with special motion court in the last term. I have dealt with several matters of great significance, and the GCB must have missed it by error. The Ramesh Patel matter, thereafter followed the S versus Soroka matter, which was a follow-up on the Ramesh Patel matter, which is used in the Magistrates Court in respect of bail applications. There's also the matter of Maria Baloyi versus the Minister of Health in respect of who to cite when it comes to vicarious liability. Do you cite the Minister or do you cite the MEC of the province? Then I have also dealt with several liquidation matters that were quite high profile, amongst others the VBS matters. I have recently dealt with a high profile criminal case, S versus Herman van Tonder, the Bella Bella murderer, which was also all over the news. In both my time period as an acting judge as well as counsel, I have dealt with various matters which made news headlines and were quite high profile. But were they significant to me? No, not at all, because a significant matter, in my view, is a matter where principles are laid down. A Ramesh Patel matter is a significant matter. But the other matters, a significant matter equates for me to a matter where a rule or a statute was declared unconstitutional. Principles were laid down that is followed in practice for years to come. Those are significant matters.
Thank you, Advocate. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Judge President Lekhodi, thank you.
Counsel, is there anything that you want to say to the chair in Chivenda, and you can translate it to him? What is it which you wanted to say? Just in one sentence.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge President. Yes. Enezonaga shumani, hoyemu shumani, ga himbire yote.
Translate to him.
What I say is, I really would like to do this job with my whole heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then before it seems as if the interview has come to an end, there's one outstanding issue. Minister Lamola, Masiari uvuani.
Anorovozovut.
No, vuazavudi mara heli chuduro kufisa gamanda.
Hayi, vekatemba uri zitochimbula zavuti.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. It looks like,
CJ,
were there still some questions? Oh,
it's not a question.
oh,
Not a question, CJ.
Yeah.
It's my sweeping
Yeah,
responsibility.
or you're sweeping, yes.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioner.
One of the comments from the GCB is that despite you indicating that 10% of your litigation practice comprises constitutional law, there's no indication that in fact you have experience in constitutional law. What do you say to that? What's your comment?
It is not exactly correct. In fact, if one really considers your general practice, you have more than 10% experience in constitutional law. Have I ever appeared in the Constitutional Court? No. But Constitutional Court does not only relate to appearances in the constitutional law. You deal with constitutional law in your everyday general practice. For instance, the best interest of a minor child, emergency medical attention that a person must be afforded. I have dealt with 2 such urgent matters where in the one was in the Free State on an urgent basis where emergency medical attention was refused to a person and where a child had to get emergency transplant of a kidney. These are constitutional matters. A child that is refused to go to school or write an exam. When it comes to eviction matters, the constitutional issue plays a role and you have to consider the right to housing. So there are different aspects of constitutional law. Then when it comes to constitutional law, it's not generally only when a section or an act is declared unconstitutional. It also has a bearing to when an action or conduct is declared invalid and unconstitutional and set aside, such as reviews. And I have done many reviews. So in that regard, I have experience in constitutional matters.
We should understand you to be saying that you, in your matters, in litigation, because it's raised in particular with reference to litigation, that in matters that you've litigated, you have had to place reliance and invoke the rights in the Constitution or issues arising from the Constitution.
Yes, indeed, sir. Indeed, sir.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you. I think we have come to the end of the interview. I must thank you once again for availing yourself. I will give you 3 minutes. If there are 2 or 3 points you want to emphasize for the commissioners to particularly bear in mind when they consider your candidature, and after that I will excuse you. But I know that earlier on you went to town on certain issues, so it may well be that you have addressed issues adequately, in which case it will be fine.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I think I am covered. I would just not to let the Pedi or Sotho people feel left out. In Sotho greet you, Salagabotse.
We are clear, but now.
You are now excused. You are now excused.